This is Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast.
Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast, Thursday, May 18th.
It is Thursday. It's weird that I felt like today's Friday.
Because a long weekend.
It is. It's wishful thinking. It's like, okay, I'm ready. I'm so ready to start this long weekend for a lot of reasons. But I think because we've had a busy week.
There's been a lot going on.
There's been a lot going on.
We had that planned that way, though. But I don't think minus 2 degrees on the drive this morning helped much.
I think that was part of it. It's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Just be done. I want to get to the weekend because that's when summer starts. It's the May 2-4 weekend.
I do like the fact it is light sunshine, like full day at 5:30 in the morning now.
When we start the show now, the sun is up.
It is, and it has been for a bit.
Yeah, it's great.
By next week, it'll be light at 5:15. And it's my favorite 2 months. I was talking about January and February. The trade-off for me is May 24th until the middle of July, when I usually start my vacation. That's my favorite 2 months, mid-May to mid-July. Best time. School ends. It's just great weather. Everybody's feeling loose and carefree, and Canada Day's in there, and summer vacation. I just love them. And here in the Quinte region, it just explodes with events.
It really is. And we've done that a lot. That's part of it, I think, too, this week, is because it feels like all of a sudden, boom, everything's happening in the next few weeks. And it's just the start of what's going to happen throughout the summer. It's like, wow, we came out of COVID, and I hate going back to that. But we are.
But it's true.
We're coming out of it, and we're getting back to golf tournaments and Riverfest this weekend. So festivals and fireworks shows and just fun things to do again in this area every weekend. And not just like one thing. You've got your choice of 3 or 4 things every weekend, and it's fantastic.
Inquinte.ca, the best website if you're outside the Quinte region, but you love to come spend a lot of time here in the county and across eastern Ontario. We have got all of them in there, and keep it locked on the show, because we've got interviews next week for like 4 events going on next weekend. Golf tournaments, bocce golf tournaments.
Well, and 2 that have carried over from this week, because there's a dog walk for the dog guides. There's a walk coming up for that. The Ride for Dad, we already have coming up next week, but then we already have a slate of scheduled interviews we got to get to as well for more events.
Dancing with the Stars of Quinte next Friday.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
There's
it's
so
on and on.
so much going on.
A lot of stuff going on. So keep it tuned to the show and to inquinte.ca to stay tuned on that. On the show this morning, a couple of the major things we talked about. First thing, we're going to spend more time with this next week, but we do just want to touch on it because we wrapped up the show with it, and like so often happens on the show, one little comment turns into a large discussion about trigger songs, because one of our listeners is just triggered by the Proclaimers.
And when we say triggered, it just maybe annoyance. Not so much because when I hear triggered too, for some, it's not a trauma. It's just an annoyance.
And then they hit the radio.
Yeah, I can't hear it anymore. It just drives me crazy. I don't want to listen to it anymore.
And for some people, it may be, how come you never play that song? To that person, it's like, you got to be kidding me. I hear it 6 times a day, right? Because
the one I picked, Len, Steal My Sunshine. I feel like we play it every day. Between 9 and 12. I hear it every day. I know I don't. I know it's not every day. But it feels like every day.
I worked with a radio consultant years and years ago. One of the questions that they would ask listeners is, which radio station plays the same songs over and over? I think that was the question. And the station I worked with was an oldie station with a very tight playlist.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, well, of course
it'll be you.
It'll be us. I expect that to be, and it was, but it was a little bit higher. And I took that as like good, because they understand we play a tight playlist. And he said it's a trick question. It's a psychologically trick question. And I said, what do you mean? I said, when people say you play the same songs over and over, what they instinctively or feel, subconsciously rather, is you play the same songs over and over they don't like. Nobody will complain if you play their favorite song too much.
All the time, yes.
But if you play songs they don't like too often, they take what station plays. Oh, that station. Ugh. That's how they're. It's never like, oh yeah, I love it that station. It's always a negative. So you don't want to lead the parade on that one. So
did you make a switch?
Oh yeah. So we took a look at the playlist, but you learn, right?
Yes.
That psychology of asking a question. So what are you really looking for?
What are you really saying?
That's right. But what information am I trying to get from the listener? You ask in such a way, and they're telling you they don't like. There's too many songs in there that they don't like that you play over and over again.
Because they're noticing that you're playing them over and over again.
So-
Because ideally, you don't want it to notice. The best compliment I ever had was someone who said I just blended in with the music. When I started in radio,
Right.
I
Yep.
didn't stand out from the
Yeah.
music or commercials. It was just an even blend. And he said to me, he goes, that's a compliment. And that's how I took it too, because you don't want to be jarring. You don't want to
Right.
stand out too much. You kind of do. You want people to listen to you, but you don't want to take away from or stand out so much that when you come on, it's like, oh, she's on again.
Right.
Or, oh, I really noticed this one. Because they don't ask themselves why, but quite often you're loud, could be abrasive. Your voice might not just
Right.
hit them the right way. That's why
Right.
you stand out to them. So you do want to kind of blend almost with
Particularly when you start your career. If
Yes.
people tune in because they like the music and they know that announcer's on, they'll like the whole thing.
Exactly.
It's like having a friend over for coffee. There's some friends you just don't want to spend time with, and some you do.
Exactly.
So, exactly. So, but we're going to talk more about
Yes.
trigger songs next week, and we'll put that up on the socials.
songs drive you
And
crazy?
feel free to just unload, because for me it's Wonderwall by
and it's
Oasis.
an interesting little survey we can conduct to see, okay, maybe
Right.
there's songs that we should be looking at, maybe cutting back on a bit.
Well, maybe we'll do an entire show made up of those titles. And trigger.
Because we're that diabolical.
And a big part of our show this morning, we talked about passwords. International Password Day was earlier in May, and out came a report of the most common passwords used in Canada in 2022. And something like the top 20 used represent 70 to 75% of all password usage in Canada. And 83% of passwords used by people in Canada can be hacked in under a second.
That blew me away.
Under a second. So
I said 30 seconds. I thought that was being
Yeah.
generous or pretty fair, but under a second.
if you are really, really bright and you know how to do these things through coding, if you
Yes.
put together a program that could, in milliseconds, hit somebody's account,
Yeah.
try the top 20 passwords,
And
you
get
would
in.
get into over 70% of them in Canada. And people think, well, these hackers are diabolical. No, in a lot of cases, we make it pretty darn easy on them. So here are the top 20 from last year. In at number 20, I Love You.
Aw.
In at number 19, Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, right? Like
Yeah.
right there. 18, college prep. 17, picture the keyboard. 1Q, 2W, 3E, 4R.
Yep.
The upper 8 there. Number 16 is 1, 2, 3, 4. 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. 14, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 13 is XIANG.
Sorry,
I-A-N-G.
X-I-A-N-G.
I looked at that too. I don't know what that is. X-I,
X-I-A-N-G.
which is A-N-G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I don't know. Because I was looking at it too. It's like X-I-A-N-G.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's like Kiss I-X-I. Anyway, 12 is hockey.
Of course. Of course.
And then 11's welcome. So you're hacking into my account. Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome, hackers.
Here you go. Come on in.
Top 10. ABC 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
And then the one that makes it harder, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. QWERTY, Q-W-E-R-T-Y, top 6
Yep.
letters. Guest is in at number 5, which is the password to every hotel room. Guest.
It's true. Yes.
Number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Number 3, you were waiting for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I was waiting for the backwards version.
Yeah, we didn't think
Like,
of that
okay,
one.
we're all going forward. Let's go backwards now.
Now, don't get ahead of me. Number 2 is password.
Which I thought would be number 1.
Yes, and
honestly.
has been for the longest
Yeah.
time. And the number 1 password in Canada is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you think, now come on, nobody really does that. They do. 70%. They do. So
It's been drilled into our heads that we need to come up with really hard passwords. And yet here we go with those top 20, and the same with switching it up. Now, part of this too is making sure you are aware of all the different accounts you have. I will admit, I fall down there. I think I know all the accounts I have, but I'm sure there's one or two that have slipped through the cracks I haven't used in a while,
right,
that I have forgotten, and I am guilty of using the same passwords,
duplicating passwords,
over repeating them, or for the same.
Different account.
Different
accounts. Got so many. How can I remember?
That's it.
You got to write them down, put them in a binder. Like, don't leave it in your computer.
No, don't leave them saved on some sort of device somewhere. Yeah. Write it down.
Like a Word file and call it passwords.
Exactly. Don't do that.
Because if they can get in, that's the first thing they're looking for.
Although chances are pretty good that your password is probably password then.
Yeah.
If you keep the file on your computer.
There's a story out this morning that Google is going to be deleting Gmail accounts.
Yes, I saw that.
Have been inactive. And by inactive, like you haven't even gone on them in, I think it's 2 years.
You have to log in at least every 2 years.
Every 2 years, and then you're fine.
Stay active.
So before you go crazy and go, I can't believe they're going to be doing that to me. Well, it's only for all of these accounts.
All the junk ones that have been created and maybe aren't used by possibly you and I. We just created an extra email and we just don't use anymore. So
you
they're
went
getting
away to
rid
university.
Yeah,
and you forgot about it.
Exactly. So they're deleting those, or even spam ones that have been created. They're looking at those too and getting rid of them. So
also, they encourage you to make long, unique passwords and never reuse them. So that's difficult. And to make it easier, though, use a password manager.
Oh.
Password manager. Those programs exist online where you just hit random go and then it gives it to you.
Gives you to. Well, you made the point too of people who just click on forgot password.
Yeah.
And then it generates a new password every time you go to use whatever it is you're using.
It doesn't matter. So if you have a Gmail account and you've made you open it up and it's a ridiculous password you create that you could never possibly remember, and it doesn't matter, now you've set it up. And then you go to use it the second time, just click on forgot. And that's like create another one. Make junk. Done. And just keep doing that. And that way you don't even know what it is and it's unhackable because they give you the opportunity. So that was, and when we were doing McDonald's McHappy Day, the tap was down at our window. And a woman came by and I apologized for her. She says, I'd never use tap. I do.
She puts the card in the machine?
Yeah.
And does her code?
She said, I work for Microsoft in security.
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh. So she said, you probably would encourage me not to leave my password saved in my banking information. And she almost drove into the side of the building, which of course I don't do. But the point is, she said, why anybody would use tap from a security point of view, we get why, because it's convenient.
Yeah.
But first of all, if you lost your card, then they're tapping. It's
and we had that a couple of weeks ago, actually. Not only that, but if you stand too close to the machines, especially during the holidays, we were seeing a lot of the cards being picked up by the tap machines, whether it be your debit or your credit card.
Right.
But Nathan, we went to the movies a couple of weeks ago, and he couldn't find his debit card. And leave it to my 12-year-old, not so much me. I was like, okay, well, we'll look when we get home. He's like, no, Mom, if I've lost it, someone might pick it up and use it. And I was this close to saying they can't. And he's the one who said they can just tap it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, you're right. Okay, well, then we better call and get that canceled, because for the longest time you couldn't do it without the code, so the PIN.
That's right.
But now, even though I use tap all the time, it just went. It was like, oh yeah, you're right. Even your debit card, we now have to protect a little bit more.
First time I heard you could take a picture of a check and deposit it into a bank account, I thought, that's a parody. That's a joke. Mm-hmm. That's real.
Yep.
So passwords, think about that on the weekend, about at least, as you're creating and changing and becoming a little bit more secure, because I've had friends who have had their identity stolen. And if you think rechanging your passwords is inconvenient and time consuming, try getting your
proving who you
stolen.
Are, and
with everything. I'm not just
all your information.
I mean, driver's license, CRA,
social
taxes,
insurance,
oh my
everything.
Gosh, yeah.
Wow.
Your credit score, everything.
They have it all.
And so, by all means, do that. Coming up tomorrow on the show, we're going to be heading out to Shannonville and talking with Alex Gallagher. That begins. We talk about all these great things going on. The CSBK Bridgestone Canadian Superbike begins this weekend, and that highlights a full summer of racing at Shannonville that'll wrap up mid-September with the Superbike coming up. So we'll get Alex on the show coming up tomorrow morning. Got your dad joke of the week.
I think we're also going to try to get Tiffany Young on from Chamber of Commerce. Susan Walsh retired.
Yeah.
This is Tiffany, I don't want to say is the new Susan, but she has stepped into that role. Mm-hmm. So now she's telling us all about the wonderful events here in the city of Belleville over the next couple of months. The first being another family fun fest coming up next weekend at Westwicks. We talked again, as you said, about things coming up this summer. Here is a free event. Free for the family to enjoy to kick off the summer. So we'll catch up with Tiffany as well.
Jimmy Hollywood will have a rumor day and lots more coming up tomorrow morning with Mark and Charity Mornings here at 95.5 Hits FM. Enjoy your day.